Hi boys and girls. Let's do an experiment today. Let's see if a big, ferocious, evil, dreaded reticulated python comes over and attacks me while I play with her babies. She's been maternally incubating these and I've gotten into the eggs. She's been separated and I'm ready to let her come back over. The dreaded, evil... Oh, I knocked over your camera.
Already ruined the shot.
Hi baby. What are you doing? The dreaded, evil, reticulated python. Bloodthirsty, known historically to eat entire civilizations of animals as they crawl out of the primordial jungles to kill everyone. Sadly, none of the stuff that I'm saying is remotely even true, and that's why I'm very sarcastic, because reticulated pythons incredibly smart. And often people think that reticulated pythons are scary, bad monsters. Well, I'm going to show you a little bit different. Hi, baby. This is Moo. And these are her little babies. So Moo is bonded with her babies. And I'm messing with her babies. And she still is really tolerant of me. This is really a very, very unnatural event. So we have a snake at the state right now that's the most protective of something that she values, which is a brood of eggs. And so she's trying to figure this out. But she knows that I'm not a bad thing. So she's tolerating me playing around with her little babies. And this is really interesting because this goes against what she's pre-programmed. So instinct is to protect the eggs at all cost with her life, and there's no reason for her to tolerate me. But I'm also working with the fact that I have a wonderful relationship with this snake. She's very socialized, so she knows what people are. She doesn't view us as a threat. So right now I'm just more annoying, which I can accept. I'm an annoyance. Hi baby. I love you. That is such a wonderful animal. But this is indeed a reticulated python. This is the longest growing species of snake in the world. And a lot of times people have this idea that reticulated pythons have a very untrustworthy temperament and they're not, the friendliest of snakes. And in fact, that is not true. They're incredibly intelligent. And once you understand the mindset of these animals and you understand the back and forth with these animals, you realize, wow, they're really smart. They're more aware. It's kind of like probably comparing, I'll be bold enough to just how about maybe a chocolate lab. So a chocolate lab is just a really sweet, kind of dopey dog a little bit. I'm sure there's examples that are highly intelligent. But let's say we have Burmese python and we're going to equate that to a chocolate lab. I would equate a reticulated python with something more like a shepherd or Doberman. Something that's really kind of a little bit more high-strung, real strong thinking dog. They got the brawn behind them. And as long as you work with them and you train them properly and you socialize them, that indeed that Doberman or that German Shepherd could be a wonderful animal too. So it's the same kind of thing. Whereas normally, chocolate labs are always tractable. Okay, so Moo. All right, here we go. Can you see all right?
Perfect, yeah, actually.
Okay, so I notice all the blood vessels in this one have dropped. So the blood vessels adhere to the inside of the egg, and this is where we have oxygen being absorbed through the exchange, through the shell. So at this point, the little membrane that attaches itself to the egg starts falling off due to this animal's releasing chemicals, so enzymes to help allow it to cut the egg more easily, and all the blood vessels drop. So if I cut this completely off, but look at Moo, just like, what are you doing? See, to me, that's love. I have great love for the snake. She doesn't necessarily have probably that same opinion of me. And then I just go in here. So if you look at this, how this works. So this little membrane right here, a lot of times there's blood vessels on that. And this right here has little microscopic blood vessels, which are not substantial, so I can actually cut through that. And what we're doing is, if we do this and that, we want to so the animal's already broken through its little sheath. And once this happens, this animal's going to start breathing air. When they start breathing air, the yolk and all the blood vessels that are vasculated throughout the egg, they start pulling it in through their belly button, which is their umbilicus, and then they take all that energy from the remaining yolk, they absorb it, and that gives this animal a really good head start in life. Right? Because you're a great mommy. So if I can sit here like this, and believe it or not, oh look, I could sex that snake. Believe it or not, you start the socialization process right there. Hey baby.
This is great.
Is it good?
Yeah. I don't see Jay Brewer letting the snakes get this close when he's doing this.
Yeah, well I love my snakes. So
Alright.
yeah. So we can do another one. There is a technique to opening eggs. If you want to do this and you don't know what you're doing and you're very impatient and want to go look in your eggs, take this egg, go into a dark room, take a bright mag light, and you're going to notice little red lines. Those are your blood vessels. Mark an area that is clear where there's no blood vessels. Then I take forceps. It's always forceps right here. See right there?
Mm-hmm.
And then here we go. Primordial ooze. So this is a cowrie tick. So a cowrie tick is a leucistic. So it's a blue-eyed leucistic. So in reticulated pythons, blue-eyed leucism is quite good. So we have superphantoms, which are blue-eyed leucistics, and then we also have cowrie ticks. And cowrie ticks are the culmination of the phantom stripe with the orange ghost stripe. So they are allelic. So the two different genes for phantom stripe and orange ghost stripe occur at the same leukocyte. So your leukocyte, think about as an address for an apartment building. And if both of those genes reside in that apartment building at that address, they are then allelic. So when you combine them together, they're going to make something that's a culmination of the two. And in some cases, we have something called epistasis. So anyways, we have phantom stripe, we have orange ghost stripe. They reside at whatever that address of that apartment building is, and each one occurs in its own little apartment. So those two together, they go together on the blue-eyed leucistic locus site address of that apartment building, and then when they merge together from the mother and the father, they're going to make a blue-eyed leucistic. But we also have something called epistasis. So epistasis is something when you have a couple genes that do something very dramatic, kind of almost unheard of, something more sensational than you would expect. So not just having a blue-eyed leucism, which is the control that says do not create pattern or pigment. We just want to kind of show a blank slate. Then the epistatic part of it is a leak. So cows, golden child cows, they have a leak of the control that says do not make pigment. And what happens as the animal starts growing, it goes from being a white patternless slate for this. So this would be phantom stripe, orange ghost stripe, and golden child. So we have this white one, and if it doesn't have the golden child, it'll be more yellow. And as this animal starts growing, we can go show you what cowrie ticks turn into. It's very, very dramatic. She has calico in her too, so it gives her a very interesting look. Just slit. Look at that right here. So we got multiple. So, Kevin, why are you doing any of this? So what's going to happen is sometimes baby snakes, they start slicing. We know this one's alive, so their tail goes in. They start slicing, and what happens is they, as they start slicing, they're cutting through blood vessels, and they start, there's blood inside the egg. And what it does is it lessens the ability of the neonate, the baby inside the egg, to get the oxygen that it needs. So if it is not breathing atmospheric oxygen and it's relying on oxygen absorption through its blood vessels, there's a chance that it won't get enough oxygen and the animal could asphyxiate and die within its own fluid. And another thing is, when the eggs are adhered to each other, which is typical in a clutch of a python, the eggs will often be stuck together in a clutch. One baby, so we'll have an egg, we'll have like a couple eggs like this, and you'll have one adhered like this. Well, sometimes the one below it will slice out of its egg. Freedom! No, it just slit into the bottom of this egg. And now all the fluid is going to start draining in there, and that will drown the baby. And many, many times I've actually seen this sweat.
In the camera, Kevin. Kevin's looking at me. You forget.
Oh.
You haven't done that in a while, actually.
Okay. Sorry.
Kevin's just really into what he's doing.
Yeah.
Oh, his mom of the year over there.
Come here.
That's yours.
I know. You want to smell? No! Oh, look, twins!
No, shut the fuck up, you.
Look!
You're lying.
2 heads!
Oh.
All right, hold on. All right. Yeah! Holy moly. Twins!
Oh, yeah.
Twin cows! Oh my goodness.
Try to flip it towards me a little bit. I know it's going to goo everywhere, isn't it? I know, towards me. There you go.
Look at that!
How often does this happen, Kevin?
Not very often, especially, these are the first twin cows I've ever had. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. And remember, that blood is, I didn't even do this because these guys had slit. You know what's interesting? There was a slice on, yeah, there was a slice on 2 different spots. That's really interesting. Hi. Making sure they're breathing is always critical. Yeah, I love it. I'm actually getting a really nice ratio of cows. And these are all like, God, there's so many cows. So we might actually have some paradoxing cows. I don't know. That's another cow.
Paradoxing, Kevin. Tell me what paradoxing cows are.
So paradoxing is, so generally at a locust site, if something is, okay, we'll use albinism. So albinism is recessive. So the mother and the father each contribute half of that gene pair. So we have, let's say, an albino mommy and an albino dad. They both put out 2 recessive genes, and when those 2 genes meet up at the same locust site, the same apartment building, when those 2 genes, the control says, do not make pigment. So the control says, when it's all in the genome, the directive is do not make pigment of melanin at that control. And when that happens, we take away melanin, and suddenly you see albinism. So you see this yellow and white remarkable animal. But the control has to be complete. It has to say true, make no pigment. Well, sometimes it leaks. And sometimes your control says, almost make no pigment, make a little bit of pigment. And it allows a little bit of the wild type, which normally would mask it. So if I had a father that was normal and a mother that was albino and they bred together, I get the recessive part of albinism, little small a, and then I have a big A, which is the wild type. The wild type of the father who looks normal is going to mask the albinism at that site because only one parent contributed an albino gene, the other contributed a normal gene, and that normal gene says make pigment. That pigment then overrides the albino part of it, and you see a normal looking animal, although genetically, so genotypically, it is a genetic gene carrier of albinism. The phenotype, the visual look of that animal still looks normal. So when you have paradox, you just have a little leak in that gene, and it's random. It's generally not genetic, but in the case of cows, it's very, very genetic. So the takeaway today is I'm sitting in a very dark, yucky, shadowy room as far as when it comes to filming. But the takeaway is I'm working with a very, a large constrictor that if it did not trust me, I would never be able to allow it to be able to take these liberties. And as we're keeping these animals, every time you interact with your animal and you have a positive effect on that animal and you have a positive give and take, that animal learns to trust you just a little bit more. And what I call is building threads of trust. All these little threads, all these little positive experiences are recorded in the animal's brain, and then the animal starts changing its behavior to accommodate humans into their lives, and then we have this beautiful relationship, this back and forth. This animal is around children, we do shows with it, but Generally, reticulated pythons are often, because of their large size, they have very large teeth, they have very, very sharp mind, and their mental acuity is quite fast-paced. They often mistake these animals, call them mean, call them aggressive, but actually what they truly are is they're intelligent animals, and if you work within the parameters of that and you build the trust, you can totally change your behavior with these animals. I hope today you liked the video and actually gave you something out of it. And I love all you guys, the wonderful comments.
I gotta turn my camera on, dude.
You didn't turn your camera on!